Mr. Speaker, it is a pleasure to stand today in this House and give my first speech since being elected back home in Miramichi, Grand Lake. I would like to congratulate you, Mr. Speaker, upon your election to office and offer you my promise to assist in maintaining decorum and order in this House. It is both humbling and an honour to sit in the chamber as a Member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And while I am both proud and overwhelmed at the responsibility of this job, I take comfort in the fact we will have no authority in this House whatsoever unless it has been given to us from above. As this is my maiden speech in the House, I will respectfully ask for the opportunity to explain my purpose for being here. My grandfather, Pat, used to joke that politics was just a chance to wear out a good suit and hang around a lower class of people, Mr. Speaker. Today, I think a great many Canadians share his cynicism of politics in our country. For my part, while my grandfather is no longer with us, I remind myself daily of the need to restore public confidence in our elected offices in our country. I am not a career politician, Mr. Speaker. I am a tradesman and a contractor. My father, Mike Sr., died unexpectedly of cancer when I was in high school in 1992. I dropped out of high school and went to work, eventually building my own business in drywall and construction. I let my name stand for public office because I wanted to give back to the community and region that gave so much to me. I made only two promises to get here, Mr. Speaker, that I would always be honest with my constituents and that I would always work hard on their behalf. Now let me further say, for the record, I will always be accountable to my constituents. I will always put the needs of my constituents ahead of my own and make best efforts to meet with them whenever they need it. I will vote with my conscience on questions of ethics. I know that at the end of the day, I only sit in this House, which is impressive and inspiring, by the will of the people and the hard work of those who supported me to get here. There are many individuals who deserve my thanks for helping to get me here, too many to name, but I will mention just a few. To my wife, Kathy, my children, Mikey and Dylan, and our granddaughter, Carter, without their love and encouragement, none of this would be possible. Frank Trevors, my campaign manager, who took on an incredible challenge and saw it through to the end. Mark Donnelly, my official agent and great friend since we were kids. Tilly O'Neill Gordon, our former and much-loved Member of Parliament. She is a kind and sincere woman who laid the groundwork for my opportunity to sit in this chamber. Jimmy Whalen, who was by my side door to door and knows almost everyone everywhere in my riding. Andrew Dawson, he was a key part of my success in Fredericton and will continue to do so in Ottawa. MLAs Michelle Conroy, Kathy Baucus, Richard Ames, Danielle Lane, former New Brunswick Premier Blaine Higgs, who were all my colleagues the past 3.5 years in the Legislative Assembly of New Brunswick, who contribute to my success then and now as well. To all my volunteers, the list is growing. Long, very long. Your long hours and dedication was instrumental in my success. Please let me spend a moment explaining where my riding is and how it is a part of our great nation. Geographically, my riding begins in central New Brunswick, where the headwaters of the Miramichi River form, and it follows those waters through communities of Boys Town, Dopetown, Blackville, Renews, Sunny Corner, and Burnaby River. My constituency contains the entire city of Miramichi, formerly Newcastle and Chatham. It continues on to Nigawak, Basin Ann, Tabasantac, Rogersville, Rishabukto, and all points in between. It also includes the municipalities and communities that surround Grand Lake, the formerly known communities of Chipman and Minto, as well as Sheffield, Noonan, and Majorville. We also have several First Nation communities, Elsipogtog, Espanopadich, Metapanagiog, Netawanaginig, in our beautiful riding, which I will have open dialogue with, and I will work on their behalf for their interests as well. Miramichi has a long history of contribution to our great nation, both by way of our natural resources and our people. The timber from our forest and the ore from our mines have contributed to our proud national history. Lord Beaverbrook, who served as a Member of Parliament in England during the Second World War and is a part of Winston Churchill's War Cabinet, was born and raised in our woods and along our shores. Former Prime Minister R.B. Bennett lived and worked in Miramichi. Former New Brunswick Premier Frank McKenna, who despite the best efforts of the Honourable Member from Beausejour, I recognize as the greatest living New Brunswicker, is also an honorary Miramichier. As we have just finished an election campaign, and I have canvassed all the communities and regions that I have mentioned, please allow me to inform this House of the priorities of my constituents, which make them my priorities, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the economy, inflation, and cost of living are very front of mind in my constituency. Over the last decade, life has become unaffordable for Miramichi Grand Lakers. It is hard to understand how this government proposed spending bills of $500 billion does nothing to help this very worrisome situation. The money that the government proposes to spend is money they do not have yet and must steal from individuals and businesses by way of future taxes. It is troublesome to say the least. This kind of reckless spending in Ottawa, with numbers too large to comprehend, takes hundreds of dollar bills out of the pockets of the working poor, single mothers, also from those on social assistance and from our retirees. It is becoming nearly impossible to find someone in these communities who is flourishing and living our great Canadian dream, if in fact the great Canadian dream still exists, Mr. Speaker. I am surprised that our Prime Minister, during his time in England, never picked up on the lessons in economics from Margaret Thatcher, that the problem with spending other people's money is eventually you run out of it. Yeah. We are there now, Mr. Speaker. Because of this, let me state in my very first speech in the House that I am a small government, low tax, keep government out of your business, free speech, God-fearing, Pierre Poilievre conservative, Mr. Speaker. While the government proposes to spend recklessly, my constituents in Miramichi Grand Lake are very concerned about the job security as it relates to the employment at the Federal Payroll Centre in Miramichi. During the recent campaign, PSAC, the union representing the workers at the Miramichi Payroll Centre, accused myself and the Conservatives of planning to cut positions at the Payroll Centre, when it was the Liberals all along, Mr. Speaker, that planned to do so. For as long as I am a Member of Parliament, I will fight for the workers at the Miramichi Payroll Centre. I will also fight for our federal government to address the very real concerns of our inshore fishers in New Brunswick. For many years now, the federal government has mismanaged the fishery and allowed tensions between native and non-native fishers to escalate on our waters. These issues must be addressed in real time if we are to create a safe, level playing field for all in this vital industry. For as long as I am a Member of Parliament, I will fight and advocate for our small craft harbours and inshore fishers, Mr. Speaker. The community wharfs in Tavis and Tack and Bay of Inn are unsafe and in desperate need of attention from our federal government, whose responsibility they are. The member for Voiseyjour injected millions into the wharfs in Shediac and Point Sapin, which were in his constituency. I hope I can get these wharfs on his radar, as I know he has sincere respect and concern for our fishermen in New Brunswick, and they are quite rightly respect him as well, Mr. Speaker. I will advocate for much-needed improvements to the wharfs in Tavis and Tack and Bay of Inn, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, while on the topic of fisheries, Mr. Speaker, no speech from Miramichi will be complete without a mention of the Atlantic salmon. The Atlantic salmon have been in decline for 2 decades now, and my constituents have been joking that with the job the government has done managing the Atlantic salmon population, that perhaps the Liberal government could take responsibility of the black flies. Mr. Speaker, in hopes that they could mimic the results with the most troublesome population. I will fight and advocate for the Atlantic salmon, Mr. Speaker. This brings me to the end of my allotted time, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for your indulgence and look forward to representing my constituents and contributing to the debate for this much-esteemed chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will ask my colleague that whenever we were knocking on the doors, each and every resident was asking about the affordability, affordable housing, and the tax cut. So I will request my colleague that they will support our program, our Prime Minister program for the tax cut. Here, here. Thank you.
The Member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the tax cut that the Liberals are proposing does very little for my constituents in Miramichi Grand Lake. If the Liberals wanted to make a difference, they cut the carbon tax completely. Not just the consumer carbon tax, the industrial carbon tax. Axe the tax completely.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for his speech. The last statement he made worries me. He suggested that we should scrap any measure that would limit GHG emissions. I feel it's important to have incentives to limit our emissions. Now, on another topic, I asked this question to his colleague, and I'm hoping to get an answer this time. I'd like to ask a question about infrastructure. If I'm not mistaken, there's infrastructure in his riding that needs investment. We need a lot of investment, too, in my riding. There's a piece of infrastructure in my riding that's been abandoned for 20 years, but the federal government just abandons infrastructure too often. How does the colleague feel about this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the question on emissions, I believe we got to work with the emissions to fight the emissions as well, but we also got to fight for the everyday living of Canadians. If Canadians can't afford to live, there's no sense in worrying about emissions if the cost of living is going to be too high for our people to live in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaire. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to congratulate the honourable member for Miramichi Grand Lake on his election and share concerns that he has with the fate of Atlantic salmon as well as Pacific salmon. As he will know, I mean, the Miramichi, everyone knows. I'm by the way, through you, Mr. Speaker, let the honourable member know that I'm actually bi-coastal. I'm from Cape Breton Island and Vancouver Island, and I grew up on Cape Breton Island, and the Miramichi is famous, as is the Margaree River, which is my home. Saving both these populations of salmon is going to be a struggle, and I look forward to working with the honourable member. If he's prepared to fight for wild Atlantic salmon, I'm prepared to fight for wild Pacific salmon.
The honourable member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with my colleague on the other side. We need both Pacific salmon and Atlantic salmon to thrive. It's a major industry. 25 years ago, it was a $40 million industry in the Miramichi Grand Lake. We need to get back to the table and work with the government as an opposition to make sure that we keep our industries alive and well. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Thank you, and thank you. Congratulations to you, Mr. Speaker, on your election and appointment. And just a question to the member here. As far as the budget, the fact that the Liberal government has not brought forward a budget, doesn't seem to be serious about it. How do you think that that bodes for the future of Canada and for getting expenditures under control?
The honourable member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how the government expects to do this. If you run a household, you don't just go fill your credit cards, empty your bank account, and then try to do a budget after the fact and find out how much money you have left. That's not the way you spend your paychecks. That's not the way you run your household. We shouldn't be running the country that way either. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have time for a very brief question. The member for Winnipeg North.
Mr. Speaker, the member from Hamilton Centre asked a question about a tax break. The member opposite indicated that, no, he doesn't like the tax break. Is it the official Conservative Party's position that they are actually going to be voting against the tax break to Canadians? We were very surprised in 2016 when they voted against the tax break to Canadians. Is it the position of the Conservative Party they are voting against the tax break?
The member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I never said that we didn't like the tax break. I said it did very little for the constituents of Miramichi Grand Lake.
Exactly.
I said it did very little for the people of Miramichi Grand Lake. What I'm saying is, if you want to take care of the people of Canada, cut the carbon tax completely.
Yeah.